There is one mistake that can turn a peaceful night in the wilderness into a fight to make it until morning. And the terrifying part? Most campers make that mistake before they even unpack their gear. Picture this. The sun is disappearing behind the trees. You have been walking for hours. Your legs are tired, your shoulders ache, and all you want is a place to stop. Then you see it. A flat, open patch of ground surrounded by trees. It looks perfect, so you drop your pack. You build a fire. You start setting up camp. And without realizing it, you may have just made the first decision that could ruin your entire night. Because hours later, when the temperature drops, the wind changes direction, and the rain begins to fall, that perfect campsite can become the worst place in the wilderness. Water starts moving toward your shelter. Your fire struggles to stay alive. Your clothes begin to get damp, and suddenly, miles away from help, you realize something frightening. The wilderness was warning you. You just didn't know how to read it. For 58 years, frontier men learned lessons like this the hard way. Not from survival manuals, not from YouTube videos, not from expensive camping gear. They learned through freezing nights, failed camps, dangerous storms, long journeys, and mistakes they were lucky to survive. And over time, they discovered something that sounds almost unbelievable today. The wilderness often tells you exactly what is about to happen. The problem is that most people are no longer listening. A shift in the wind, a sudden silence in the woods, a change in the smell of the air. Clouds moving in a direction you didn't expect. The ground beneath your feet. Small details easy to ignore, until ignoring them becomes a problem. But here is where this story gets even more interesting. Some of the smartest frontier camping tricks were not about fighting nature at all. They were about noticing what nature was already telling you. Why did experienced woodsmen sometimes reject a campsite that looked absolutely perfect? Why would they spend valuable daylight gathering far more firewood than they needed at that moment? Why did some travelers refuse to camp in places that offered the best views? And why was one of the most dangerous decisions a man could make simply continuing to walk when he thought he was lost? The answers are connected, and one of those forgotten lessons could completely change the way you think about camping forever. Because survival in the wilderness is rarely about one dramatic moment. It is usually a chain. One overlooked warning, one rushed decision, one wet piece of clothing, one fire that was built too late, one wrong turn, and suddenly, every small problem begins connecting to the next. That is exactly what frontier men understood. The men who survived decade after decade were not always stronger than everyone else. They weren't always carrying better equipment. And they certainly weren't fearless. They simply learned something most people only understand after disaster strikes. Preparation is not what you do when things go wrong. Preparation is what prevents things from going wrong in the first place. But there is one particular frontier lesson, an old camping habit so simple that many modern campers would probably ignore it. That could make the difference between a comfortable night and a miserable one. And when you discover what it is, you'll understand why experienced woodsmen treated the final hours before sunset as some of the most important moments of the entire day. So, in the next 39 minutes, we are uncovering 58 years of hard-earned frontier camping advice. You'll discover how experienced wilderness travelers chose safer campsites, prepared for sudden weather changes, managed fire and water, protected their energy, avoided costly navigation mistakes, and recognized warning signs before those warnings turned into emergency. But stay with me until the end, because the final lesson may be the most important of all, and it has nothing to do with strength, expensive gear, or wilderness experience. It is something that can cause even a confident, experienced camper to make a dangerous decision. And once you understand it, you may never look at the wilderness or your own confidence the same way again. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten frontier wisdom and old-school wilderness knowledge, take a second to like this video, subscribe to Ethan Cross, and comment below where you're watching from. Now, let's step back into the frontier, where one night outdoors could teach a lesson that lasted a lifetime.